says you need a vacation for a view like this? Or, I wish there was a place to get in shape. Try getting on the beaten path. Discover an ever-expanding network of trails and greenways. Some quintessential southern beauty. Or romp through the woods in a magical land between the rivers. There's more to explore than you ever imagined. Beyond the swing sets. Breck, we are more than a playground.
Hi, business owners. Phase 3. Woohoo! But do your customers know you're back? Well, that's where the Clarence Bugg Show and Pelican Broadcasting can help. Right now, we've got great rates on advertising packages to help you get the word out. Shoot me an email at bugsclarence@gmail.com. Or better yet, call me up. I'd love to talk with you. 225-485-6839. Let's get together and make Phase 3 the best it can possibly be.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
Hello and welcome as we start week 17 of the This Is Not Roger Cador show. My man Jonathan Poche, co-host of Tigers Roar, filling in for Roger this week. Thank you, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Clarence. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas.
Yes.
Happy to be here. Honor, to fill in for the legend, Coach Roger.
For the
Cador.
legend. That's right. That's
I'll
right.
do my best.
As we normally do, let's start with a little LSU football, talking about the Texas Bowl. Finding out recently that in between injuries, transfers, and opt-outs, the Tigers are going to be seriously undermanned taking on the opposition in the Texas Bowl.
Yeah, no doubt. The guys opting out obviously started with the starting quarterback, and Max Johnson said he was going to go into the transfer portal, and his last throw was going to beat Texas A&M, the school that he's now going to go to in the next season, of course, to join his little brother in Jake Johnson. And a lot of attrition, guys going down, guys opting out, going to get ready for the draft process. Namely number 18, Damone Clark, and obviously Neil Farrell, a senior leader on that defensive line, the best defensive tackle the LSU Tigers had. Going to be an opportunity for a lot of young guys to step up and play, CB. The LSU Tigers go into every game expecting to win.
Right.
The standard has not dropped under this interim head coach, Brad Davis. Of course, Brian Kelly's been around the program now for about 3 weeks. We don't know how much he's involved in practice, but at least he's getting his eyes on the team in the process.
You mentioned the fact that Damone Clark not going to be with the team as the heart and soul of this defense.
Yeah.
Next man up, that's one thing.
Yeah.
We use that phrase all the time, but it's not quite that simple when you're talking the heart and soul of your defense, is it?
Right. The next man up's not going to be the caliber player that Damone Clark has turned into be. The guy started as a freshman in 35, had an outstanding freshman year, had some injuries sophomore year, kind of bounced back last year, but struggled in the Bo Pelini defense.
Right.
Really worked himself into, in my opinion, a first-round pick in the next coming draft. You're not going to have another Damone Clark on the roster, but like I said, you still have some guys in that room, namely Micah Baskerville, a guy who's played outstanding for Coach Blake Baker in the defense this year. It's going to take all 11 guys, CB. You're not going to be able to replace the productivity of number 18. You mentioned the heart and soul. The guy brings the energy, brings the fire to the defense. So it is a tough loss, but you have to respect the kid's decision. You don't want to risk getting hurt when, like I said, I believe he's going to be a first-round pick in the next coming draft.
His story is the quintessential American dream story. I mean, here's a kid from little bitty Southern Lab,
Yep.
goes to the state's flagship university, now on to the NFL. The stories just don't get any better than that, Jonathan.
No, right, and it was a guy who was, very under-recruited in my opinion. There's more talk about Ty Davis-Price coming out of the same school. And look, Damone Clark was not recruited to play the position he played this season. I mean, it was kind of like a square peg in a round hole. But he worked himself. He understood his assignments. He just gave his all every single game. And, I mean, the amount of tackles he had, astonishing. In my opinion, should have been the Buckets Award winner. I mean, his stats were, well above what Neal's worth out of Georgia.
Yeah.
But, of course, there's a little bit of popularity contest. And LSU was down this season. Obviously, Georgia was undefeated until they played Alabama in that SEC championship. So, look, all the hype was around the Bulldogs, and Neal was their best player on defense. And the guy looks like a prototypical NFL player. So, a lot of things working against number 18, Damone Clark, in that Buckus race. But, yeah, I mean, outstanding young man to give his all to the program, stick around for 4 years, and then be the leader, be elected number 18 last season in a defense that really struggled. But he was one of the kids that also struggled.
Yeah.
And to stick with it and to trust the process and get under Blake Baker and that linebackers coach for LSU this past year. I mean, Coach Baker and him have an outstanding relationship. Coach Baker calls him his firstborn son on Twitter. He was there for his graduation, which is another outstanding achievement.
First in his family, by the way, to get a college education.
That's right, for Damone Clark. And a lot of guys don't stick around, college programs to get their degree, but Damone Clark did. Hats off to that young man. Looking forward to what he can do in the NFL.
Speaking of hats off, knowing what he was up against and what has transpired since then as far as opt-outs and things of that nature are concerned, you got to tip your hat to interim coach Brad Davis for stepping up to the plate, knowing he's going to have a pretty full plate to deal with.
No, huge opportunity for Coach Davis, and he's handled it, in my opinion, very well. All his press conferences, he's very articulate, a very intelligent man who understands the situation he's in. Look, he knows he's undermanned, but the name on the jersey, doesn't change. It's an LSU game. He expects a certain standard from his players. He tried to work out a deal with the NC2A to where Garrett Nussmeier will be able to play, but also keep his red shirt. I never believed that was going to happen.
Right.
Why would the NCAA do LSU any favors in this situation? But look, it's a tall task. What an outstanding opportunity for a well-deserving individual, Coach Brad Davis. His players love him. Like I said, he's very articulate. He knows the game of football. And Coach Kelly chose to bring back Coach Davis on his staff for next year when a lot of guys, a lot of staples in Baton Rouge run this LSU program, i.e., Corey Davis and strength and conditioning coach Tommy Moffitt. Those guys, were given their walking papers, but Brad Davis was asked to come back. I think that speaks huge volumes to the caliber of coach that he is.
We talk a lot, and rightfully so, about Damone Clark, but defensive tackle Neal Farrell opting out as well. He's going to play in the Senior Bowl. What do you make of that?
Well, the Senior Bowl is going to be right around his hometown, so he's going to get to play in front of a lot of family. Senior Bowl also is a great platform for a guy, especially like Neal Farrell, who certainly played at a high level for LSU, but really didn't get a lot of credit. I mean,
right.
The PFF had him as the highest graded interior lineman for defense in the nation, not just the SEC. So just give him another platform to show his skills against the top athletes in college football. There's going to be tons of scouts out there for the NFL, and a lot of guys get their jobs by going to the Senior Bowl. So look, I really don't have a problem opting out of the Kansas State game. A lot of players obviously have done so,
right.
Especially for a guy like Neal Farrell, who has more to prove. He feels like he's been kind of under the radar on a lot of people's radar. So let's give him another platform to compete against the best. You don't have to worry about the risk of injury for the bowl game. So now I understand it for LSU fans. I mean, I get it. It's a big blow. Neal Farrell,
right.
a great defensive tackle, a great run stopper. But this kid's future is on the line, and he's given everything he had to the LSU program. Another guy that stuck around for 4 years. And, he gave it his all. I wish him the best of luck.
What do you say to, because there have been any number of fans, and there probably will be up until and through the bowl game, that are of the opinion Yeah, I understand you stand to make millions and this, that, and the other, but you made a commitment to your brothers, to your teammates, to put on the jersey, represent alongside them regardless of the circumstances. What do you say to the person that harbors the opinion that you're selfish, you let your brothers down, you let the team down, you let the fans down? What do you say to that person?
Well, first, I completely understand the sentiment. I mean, that's the way the game has been played for 100 years, but college football is not the same anymore. It is now a big business, and in all actuality, it's like the minor leagues for the pros. I mean, with the transfer portal, with the NIL deals, all the money that's been thrown around, these guys are not just student athletes anymore. Now they really are professionals. They're getting paid to play college football in one way or the other, whether it's getting your school paid for or your room and board, your food, and then the NIL deals. I mean, they are talking about 7-figure NIL deals that are going to these 18, 19-year-old kids. Now, that's money that could not have been – they hired Nick Saban to come to LSU for $1.2 million. Travis Hunter reportedly, allegedly, is going to go to play at Jackson State for $1.5. Yeah. I mean, players are now getting millions of dollars to choose what school to go to. So I completely understand, you chose to go to LSU because of the program, but that's really not the environment that we're living in these days with college football. You hate to say it's all about me, but you got to look out for the number one. I hate that sentiment. It's about the team. It's about the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. And I completely agree with all of that sentiment, but it's just not the same anymore, CB. These kids are making decisions for themselves and plus their entire family. A lot of these guys have kids at a young age, so they have their future to look forward to. Just a lot weighing in on these 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids. And at the end of the day, there is a reason why we sometimes hear the phrase NFLSU. That's right. No, and you look on any given Sunday, I mean, just this past weekend, Joe Burrow throws for 525, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, a perfect passer rating. You have Odell Beckham going against Justin Jefferson for the most yards in the first 2 years of an NFL career. You have Deion Jones getting 10 tackles in a game. Andrew Whitworth, the first 40-year-old offensive tackle to play the game. It's just every Sunday, LSU, it turns out, outstanding product on the field. And look, it was a big hit, of course. National Signing Day was a week or two ago, and the top 3 wide receivers from Louisiana did choose to go to Alabama. But you look at Justin Jefferson, Odell Beckham, Jamar Chase, who has now made, along with Joe Burrow, has made the Bengals like must-see TV. And the guy has got to be the favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. You would think. Look, the NFL LSU thing has been going on for a few years now. But when you look at the superstars that LSU puts in the league, it just brings a light that not many other schools, maybe in Alabama, maybe in Ohio State, can brag about, but not the dominant form that LSU has in the NFL. You mentioned the amount of money now that's available to these young men through the name, image, likeness. What does your gut tell you? At some point, are they going to have to rein this thing in? Without a doubt, CB. I mean, it's like the wild, wild west right now. You can pay a kid an absorbent amount of money to pick your team, even to take a visit to your school, an official visit. You can pay a kid to take an official visit. Wow. Baton Rouge is a little bit behind the curve, like behind a Texas A&M or a blue blood program. But Gordon McKernan has started this group with other prominent Baton Rouge business owners. They're going to kick up their NIL deal a little bit, just to let these recruits know, like, LSU's not that far behind. They're going to pick it up, and you can be the first ones to benefit from these new NIL deals. To answer your question, they absolutely are going to have to figure out, how to put a cap or rein in or just, have an oversight of this NIL because, I mean, the rich get richer and the poor have no chance. I mean, it's a situation where money will absolutely put you in contention for a championship. I'm not going to say you're going to win it by buying it, but you're going to be in the running. But now, at the same time, what do you say to the person that says, I understand the sentiment, but here's a little bit of Jackson State in the grand scheme of things. And the word is, allegedly, that
the number one prospect in the nation goes to little bitty Jackson State, and he's looking at in excess of $1 million contract for name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
So you could make the argument that it kind of levels the playing field. What do you say to that person?
I think the Travis Hunter situation is absolutely the outlier.
The anomaly.
The kid was the number one recruit in the nation. Of course, he plays both ways, wide receiver and defensive back. He's going to play for Deion Sanders, a guy that also could play both sides of the ball. A multi-sport athlete, one of the best cornerbacks to ever do it, Hall of Famer. And a guy that also has a deal with Barstool Sports, who has a deal with Penn Gaming.
Right.
And the deal with Deion and Barstool started right before he got the Jackson State gig. And that's big-time money. I mean, that's a national brand.
Think?
Penn Gaming is a multi-million-dollar brand, just like Barstool Sports. And, yeah, that opportunity for Travis Hunter is outstanding. I wish it was more of a narrative of, Travis Hunter chooses HBCU over these Power 5 conferences because he wants to uphold tradition and bring a light to HBCUs and bring some attention. But yeah, it's about money. And the craziest part about the whole situation to me is Deion was obviously a Florida State Seminole, and this kid Travis Hunter was a longtime commit to the Seminoles. And, signing day he flips, and Seminole fans lose their minds. They're burning jerseys and. They want to write off any kind of records that Deion had at Florida State. But I think he was the outlier, but what a story. I mean, the number one recruit in the nation on signing day flipping to an HBCU in Jackson State. I mean, Deion Sanders has done an outstanding job, Coach Prime, in bringing light to the HBCU, to Jackson State, namely. It's always on ESPN. There's fans nationwide that cheer for Jackson State because of Coach Prime, but what a story. I mean, it was the wildest story on National Signing Day.
And at the end of the day, if nothing else, if it doesn't work out, there's always the portal.
Hit the portal, that's right.
First break of today's show. When we come back, and talk a little bit more about the bowl season and how crazy it's become, i.e. COVID-19. That's next when we continue today's edition of the Roger Cador Show. Stay close.
Got termites? Get Premier Pest. PremierPestServices.com.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
Looking to get some keys made, locks rekeyed, or a wide variety of new and used safe? Then look no further than the trusted choice of Alfred Safe and Lock. Conveniently located off of Government Street in Mid-City, Baton Rouge. Trust the expert locksmith at Alfred for all of your residential, commercial, and industrial lock and safe needs. Trusted by Baton Rouge and me, Roger Cador, to protect what is yours since 1946.
Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time.
Caught spiders? Premier Pest Services.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Roger Cador Show. No, do not attempt to adjust the brightness control on your television. This is not Roger Cador. Coach is out this week, and a very dear friend of the show and all of Pelican Broadcasting, and particularly the Tigers Roar family, Jonathan Poche, filling in. bowl season, and I guess considering what happened last year, what's continuing to happen with COVID-19, really shouldn't be that big a surprise. Fenway Bowl, Military Bowl, both canceled due to COVID. No big surprise.
No, CB, and look, this is just me talking, but the system is broken. I mean, you're testing all these asymptomatic 17, 18, 19-year-old kids.
Right.
And really punishing them and their fans for a positive COVID test. So we know, not to get off on a tangent, but we know that the tests are faulty. And we know asymptomatic kids, especially 18, 19, 20, really don't have a high risk of falling to COVID-19. Not surprised they're canceling these bowl games. I mean, there's a lot of money in bowl games, but as we found out in 2020, there's insurance on all these bowl games. So these companies are not really missing out on a ton of money if these games get canceled. Yeah, there is money loss with TV and concessions and merchandise sales, but what a whirlwind the last 2 years have been with sports, and sadly, I mean, it seems to me that some people just don't want this to go away.
Now, speaking of whirlwinds, Texas A&M withdraws from the Gator Bowl because of COVID and defections in the program. Rutgers gets tabbed to step in to take on number 17 Wake Forest. Wake practices for nearly a month.
Right.
Rutgers, on the other hand, will get to practice about a week. Is that fair to Rutgers, or for that matter, to Wake Forest?
Well, no, I don't think it's fair to either team. I mean, you game plan for a certain matchup or a set of matchups that you're going to face in whatever week it is, and I don't think it's that big of a deal that Rutgers only gets a week and a half to practice. I mean, the team's been together now an entire season. They believe that they should have been in a bowl game anyway, even though their record was not good.
Right.
But there's a lot of teams out there like that. I mean, you play 6-6 and you're eligible for a bowl. Rutgers was almost there, and now they get bumped in. And look, Texas A&M, what a rough season it's been for the Aggies and Jimbo Fisher. I mean, a team that started off with all the hype and expectations in the whole world, and to go 4-4 in conference, to lose to LSU with a lame duck coach
after beating Alabama.
After they beat Alabama, which, I mean, Jimbo Fisher's the first assistant or former assistant of Nick Saban to beat him, and I mean, what an up and down roller coaster season for the Aggies. Now their quarterback goes into the transfer portal in Calzada, and they signed Jake Johnson, the number 1 tight end in the nation, on an early signing period, and then of course they get his brother, former LSU quarterback, Max Johnson, to go over there. So, I mean, isn't it weird that, for the longest time, LSU had such a problem getting a quarterback with any talent to come to the school, and because it was always, a 3-yard and a cloud of dust offense where it was highly focused on the run game. But Max Johnson, TJ Finley, Miles Brennan all have legitimate chances to start a game next year in the SEC, and they were all in the LSU quarterback room a little bit over 12 months ago.
Yeah. You wonder when you look at the fact that Rutgers, a 5-7 team, and I posed the question before, is it unfair? Meaning, do you not put Wake Forest in a no-win situation? I mean, if you beat Rutgers, or you're supposed to, they're a 5-7 team. If Rutgers wins, they've got everything to gain here.
Right.
Absolutely nothing to lose.
Right. It's kind of like rat poison. I mean, you think you're going to face the Aggies, who had a great year, even though they kind of fell off at the end, and that's a high caliber program, an SEC team, and Wake Forest for the first time since I can remember, ranked in the top 25, had a fantastic year. Now they're going to go play down to a Rutgers team where, I mean, you mentioned, all the pressure is now on Wake Forest to either, hold serve, and if you win, you were supposed to win, and if you lose, it was like, oh, whoa, what are you doing?
Right.
You can always have the excuse to where, we thought we were playing A&M, so we've been game planning for the Aggies, and now we take on this Rutgers team. And look, I think Wake Forest will hold serve, will handle business, and take care of that Rutgers team. Rutgers can do some things on the defense side of the ball. Look, I'm not saying Wake Forest is a defensive powerhouse, but I do think Rutgers will have trouble moving the ball and scoring points against that Wake Forest team.
Ultimate question. And in recent years, it's been one that we ask every single year, particularly as we've added more bowl games and more bowl games and more bowl games.
Right.
Have we finally reached the saturation point? Are there too many bowl games?
I think we've passed the saturation point. Yeah, they have. Once you had the poinsettia bowl, in my opinion, it was like, what are we doing here, folks? I mean,
we've got everything but the tidy bowl.
Exactly, the Charmin Bowl.
Yeah.
But no, I completely understand your sentiment. So many bowl games, and look, it's great for kids. They get to go, play an extra couple weeks. Guys that have no shot at going to the pros, so their college career extends a little bit. There's a lot of pageantry around the school and the campus and universities where everybody gets to kind of pat you on the back and say, great year. Now we get to go to this bowl game and play an out-of-conference school, which it's cool because these teams don't match up a lot, but there's so many bowl games.
And you look at many of them, there's nobody in the stands.
I know. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these teams don't have fans that are going to travel like the Power 5 conferences. And to be 6-6 and make the bowl game with so many different college programs out there, I understand it for a smaller school that wants to kind of put their name out there on a national scale to accept this bowl game. But me and Buddy talked about it on the Tigers Roar. Last year we understood. Well, it was a sanctioned thing that LSU took themselves out of the bowl series, but I did not see the appeal of the extra 15 practices with so many kids out and the coaching changeover. What would have been the appeal for LSU to take this bowl game? But like I said, it does give Brian Kelly, eyes on the program for those 15 practices, kind of understand how the program works, and really start implementing how he wants his coaches to work with the program.
We talk about it from a numerical standpoint, how many bowl games there are, and how many of those the attendance is almost non-existent.
Right.
But to what level is this impacted by the fact that we now have a playoff system for the championship?
Right.
And you kind of make all these other bowl games completely irrelevant.
Right.
How big an impact are we talking the championship series having on bowl games and the illustrious look that it has to it?
Well, obviously there's an impact. I mean, you have 3 bowl games that consider that determine the champion, and until there's a expanded playoff, that's going to be the case. I mean, the Sugar Bowl it was always going to take some illustrious some appeal away from the Idaho famous Potato Bowl.
Right.
But I completely understand what you're saying, and I agree. I mean, when there's bowl games that matter, right, then that means the other bowl games don't matter.
Don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when all is said and done, and you've either won or lost the bowl game, you've made X amount of appearances, how much weight do you think that carries now with the young man during the recruiting process to be able to say, well, we went to X bowl if it's not in the championship?
That's a great point. And the bowl game situation has absolutely changed in the last 5-10 years, and especially when with the college football playoff was implemented. And, obviously it is a good recruiting tactic to where, we got to go to the Bahamas Bowl because it used to be sponsored by Popeyes, or we got to go to the PlayStation Bowl, and look, we got these PlayStations for all the players. And there are some perks to a lot of the bowl games, whether you get like a little beach vacation in the middle of December, or you get to have your family come and watch you play in a location that's closer to your hometown than your university has been before. But recruiting has changed, CB. I mean, it's not going to be the same. The bowl situation was always nice to say, look, we've been to a bowl game for the last 22 years. We've won X number of them. We play out of conference. We've had this perk and that perk, but it's really all about the money now. And what can you do for this player to ensure that they're going to get an NIL deal, a substantial amount of money to make them comfortable enough to leaving their mommy and daddy back in whatever town they're from and coming to this university to not only study but live and work out every day and devote themselves to come bring draw to your program. And I hate to sound like I'm just taking a dump all over the NIL. I think something had to change in college football to where it's not always under the table. Because, that was going on everywhere across the country for years. Now that it's out in the open, and you know, yes, the rich do get richer because you can now afford to pay these players more than another program. But something had to change. How they will regulate this, they're kind of flying by the seat of their pants. They don't know, where all the aspects. Well, say a kid signs a deal with Ford. Okay, so say a kid from Baton Rouge, for instance, and he gets hurt before the first game of the season, never plays a down for the team. Does now the Ford dealership get to take back some of that money, or the transfer portal? Say we're going to sign you to a 3-year deal unless you transfer, then you owe us back in X amount of number. Right. A lot of these 18, 19-year-old kids aren't the best at financial planning, CB. They think, oh, look at this money I have. Not to mention, when you get this NIL deal and then you spend all that money, and then, you know, here comes the IRS knocking on your door.
Internal Revenue Service. Can we talk?
There has got to be a person or persons or team of persons on every campus teaching these kids how to handle this money, these opportunities, these deals, or there's going to be a lot of muddy water around college football.
Well, you mentioned, my friend, that right now it's like the Wild West. If we look back at the Wild West, I have just one question. How'd that work out for us? Just saying.
That's right.
Just saying. When we get back, we will shift gears and talk about, yet again, black and gold. That's next when we continue today's edition of the Roger Cador Show. Stay close.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with the Rocket Right Show.
We are two busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network.
And Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient. They're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Who says you need a vacation for a view like this? Or, I wish there was a place to get in shape. Try getting on the beaten path. Discover an ever-expanding network of trails and greenways. Some quintessential southern beauty. Or romp through the woods in a magical land between the rivers. There's more to explore than you ever imagined. Beyond the swing sets. Breck, we are more than a playground.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Roger Cador Show. Jonathan Poche, co-host of Tiger's Roar, filling in for Coach, so don't start messing with the color settings or the brightness setting. You know, you could change all that, but you can't do anything about the hair. So, that's a different story. Our hopes were, I won't say dashed, with the 20-3 drubbing that the Saints received at the hands of the Dolphins, because at the end of the day, almost 24 players were missing. Ian Book didn't find out until Thursday that he's going to start the Monday night game.
Right.
So in essence, he had 2 walkthroughs. Not all that unexpected the way this game ended.
No, I mean, backup offensive line, which led to most of the 8 sacks. I did think Ian Book had a little nerves to start off the game. But look, threw a touchdown in his second pass of his NFL career. It just so happened to be to the other team. I mean, it's going to be a pass he's going to remember the rest of his life.
Maybe that's what Tommy Chrysan was thinking when he said the Saints were going to win this game.
Yeah, TK did text me, gave me a little bit of hope, said the Saints are going to win and I could book it. So,
and there was no LOL at the end of that?
I told TK, look, the only way that's going to happen is if the Dolphins bus breaks down before the game. They can't make it to the Superdome. But look, 22 players out, only 2 starters on the offensive line. You're missing both tackles. You're missing your left guard. A lot of guys that weren't just signed to the practice squad on Monday, CB. They were signed and elevated to starting in the same day, which, I mean, any other team in the NFL, you have a real argument that the NFL was going to either reschedule or postpone this Monday night game, but not for the Saints. Let's be serious. But, of course, you can afford.
You think that's Saints bias?
I'm not going to talk bad about my buddy Roger Goodell on this show because
your buddy now.
Yeah, I don't want to bring any heat on Coach Cador's program, but there's in my opinion sometimes maybe slight bias against the Saints in both calls and scheduling and opportunities like this where I mean, 22 players are out with COVID, and that was just when they stopped testing on Saturday.
Right.
Who knows? Who else? So you're missing both your tackles, your left guard, your 2 starting tight ends. Obviously, Michael Thomas is out for the year. You're missing both your linebackers, Demire Davis and Quan Alexander, 2 guys that have had outstanding years for the Saints. Of course, you're missing Malcolm Jenkins in the secondary. And with all that said, minus the pick 6, the defense only gives up 13 points.
Right.
The Saints can only muster 3. Of course, they had negative 2 yards in the first quarter. Didn't get a first down until the second half.
Yep.
Second quarter. Of course, the Superdome goes nuts when they do finally get a first down. Ian Book was running for his life most of the game.
Yeah.
Look, this is an undersized quarterback with a birthmark on his cheek. So Saints fans were kind of like, come on, let's have lightning strike twice. But expectations for that game, for myself at least, were not high.
Well, we have the lowlights from the game, so we will ask the crew in the truck if they would be so kind. They'll roll it as we continue our conversation. You talk about the fact that you've got a quarterback that only got a couple of walkthroughs. That was one of the dumbest plays I think I've seen in recent memory. You've got a quarterback in the position of Ian Book. Obviously, the very first thing you want is for the guy to be comfortable.
Yeah.
He never looked comfortable from the opening snap.
No, right. It started with that first drive. The Saints, thought we'd get the defense on the field first, and they did force a punt from the Dolphins early. Then Ian Book's second career pass turned into a pick 6. The ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage, so it's not all his fault. Cesar Ruiz, the right guard for the Saints, absolutely struggled all game. And look, the defensive line, the whole defense really for the Dolphins is very good. I mean, they're very multiple. They bring a lot of different looks. They blitz from a lot of different angles. So they're kind of set up. They're made to make, especially rookie quarterbacks, very uncomfortable.
164 yards total offense. But the stat that really jumped off the page at me was 0 for 12 on third down.
Yeah, and especially in a game where Sean Payton feels like there's nothing to lose, so he went for a lot of these 4th downs and unfortunately only was successful on one when he finally went to the quarterback sneak with Ian Book. Look, the kid showed some athleticism in the pocket. He did avoid some sacks, but he was running for his life most of the game. I thought he held on to the ball too long, and the situational awareness kind of got out the window late in that game where he's throwing the ball away on a 4th and 4 where he's rolling out to the right. And look, Sean Payton did not have his best game as a play caller by any means. Did try to get Ian Book kind of comfortable with some short, easy completions early in the game, but once it was 10-3, 13-3, the Saints had to throw the ball. Kind of took Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram out of the game totally. And look, Cam Jordan and that defense, they came to play. I mean, they showed a lot of heart. They kept the Saints in it for a long time. It's a 7-point game right here with 12 minutes left in the third quarter. Marshawn Lattimore gets a nice pick right there on an overthrow, and tips and overthrows. They mentioned this in the game last night. That's how players make the Pro Bowl. The Saints did have 4 guys voted to the Pro Bowl this season. Of course, one was Cam Jordan, who is only second behind Ricky Jackson right now for the franchise amount of sacks. Right, he's had an outstanding career for the Saints, and hopefully he can stay here and retire as a Saint.
And all the young kids are going, Ricky who?
Right.
Who are they talking about?
The city champ, babe. The city champ.
Yeah. Right now, 8 quarters in a row, the Saints have not scored a touchdown.
Yeah. 57 different starters have played for the Saints this season. That is an NFL record. I think they've had just under 25 different combinations of offensive lines in a game. It's been a war of attrition for the Saints. I mean, not only with COVID, but all the injuries. It started with Jameis Winston going down, and you go from Winston to Simeon to Hill and now to Ian Book. And look, Sean Payton, I think, has done a pretty good job with this roster, and they're 7-8 right now. I don't think a lot of Saints fans would have guessed that Trevor Simeon goes winless as a starter. He did come in and beat the Bucs on Halloween. That was a big game, but once you lose Jameis Winston, it was all downhill from there. And look, it leaves a lot of Saints fans, with the rumors going around about Russell Wilson possibly being available next season. Look, a lot of Saints fans saying, look, Russ hasn't been all that good the last couple of years. He's not doing gangbusters in Seattle. We want Jameis back.
Yeah. Of course, now you can make the argument that if you surround a Russell Wilson with the weapons that the Saints have, it could be a different story. But all of that is just pure conjecture.
Right. I mean, I'm saying if Drew Brees had this defense, he'd have like 6 Super Bowl rings right now, but that's not the case.
Right.
It takes all 53 men. I mean, the pros, it's next man up more than college because, look, this is an outstanding catch by LaJordan Humphrey. This is a 57-yard gain. And this was, a third of the yards that the Saints picked up in the entire game. And it came late in the fourth quarter. Gutsy by Sean Payton to throw from the 1-yard line, but an incredible catch by LaJordan Humphrey.
At 7-8, obviously, it is a must-win scenario every game from here on out. At what point do you think the average Saints fan will just write this off as being, quote, one of those seasons?
Well, I think the average Saints fan has already reached that point.
Whoa.
I mean, the attendance in the Dome is not what it's been, obviously, for the last 4 or 5 years of Drew Brees' career.
Right.
Obviously, there's diehard Who-Dats that are going to be ride or die with the team no matter what.
Right.
You mentioned the lack of scoring touchdowns from this offense. I mean, it seems like watching the Saints carve up defenses in a primetime game in the Superdome, that feels like a decade ago, CB. I mean, it's like not even watching the same organization. And Drew Brees was so surgical, especially in primetime games at the Dome, where he would go 42 for 45 for 4 touchdowns. Occasionally through the interception, but the Saints offense, I mean, that Super Bowl year, they were hanging 40, 50 points on almost everybody.
Yeah.
Now here we are in 2021. We've been through 4 different quarterbacks.
Yep.
Ian Book has now had his first career start. I don't want to write that kid off.
Oh, no, not by any stretch.
Did some very athletic things in the pocket. It would be nearly impossible for any rookie to have 2 walkthroughs and come through and play a team that won 6 in a row.
Right.
Oh, well, I don't want to hear about the Dolphins didn't beat anybody in that run except for one team who had a winning record. Look, to win a game in the National Football League is very difficult, no matter who you're playing.
No matter, yeah.
The Lions lost, I think, 6 games this year by a total of 10 points.
Wow.
I mean, it's just very difficult to win an NFL game. All the COVID, opt-outs for the game, and then you only have 2 walkthroughs. You're playing with a backup defensive line, and like I said, this Miami Dolphins team is very skilled, especially up front on the defensive line. Don't write off Ian Book just yet. I think he will have an opportunity to come back next season and really push that quarterback room. Of course, you signed Taysom Hill to that 4-year deal, but I don't believe he's a starting quarterback moving forward for the Saints.
No.
Either you go to free agency for the Saints or you put your trust in Jameis Winston.
Uh-huh. I wonder at the end of the day what kind of toll this takes on the defense. Again, they played well enough to win in this game. But to watch from whence we have fallen offensively. And you mentioned for the last, 15 years, we've had one quarterback.
Yep.
Now in one season, we've had 4. At what point does that start to drag down the defense?
Well, the Saints hadn't had a rookie start at quarterback since Danny Werfel, back in the day. And I think that really speaks to the stability that this organization really has. For the longest time, Drew Brees was setting records on offense, and the defense was setting record for being bad.
Yeah.
I mean, the turnover was but now, I mean, the defense, they're talked about as one of the most dominant squads in the league, and, they have something to beat their chest about, and they're carrying this team as far as it's going to go. And, yeah, we really rely on Alvin Kamara and the run game. And, look, Kamara did not have a good game. It took him out of the game early, but you can see he was visibly frustrated with the quarterback play. I mean, he was open out the backfield. He didn't take the dump offs, running into pressure when he had a 3-man pressure from the defensive line. Solid pocket, but just that clock for rookie quarterbacks, you get those happy feet.
Yeah.
Once that clock runs out, you think you have to go make a play, which really isn't the case in the pros. And look, he's going to get better in Ian Book. The defense. What heart they showed to go out there without their leader in Demario Davis. For Demario Davis not to be voted to the Pro Bowl is a crime.
It's insane.
It's a crime. But to be out Demario Davis and another captain in Malcolm Jenkins, and of course Quan Alexander, who also is huge in the cover game. He does so many different things, stopping the run and covering tight ends, playing zone. It was a tall task. I think they played well enough to win, only given 13 points minus that pick six.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's got to be disheartening, CB. It's got to be.
Yeah, well, we'll still pull for him. I mean, we are Louisianians. We're Saints fans. It's what we do. But, that was brutal to watch.
Yep.
Of course, now the good news is we kind of knew that this was going to happen. So there you go. Final break of today's show. We'll come back and wrap up Week 17 of the Roger Cador Show. Stay close.
Got termites? Get Premier Pest. PremierPestServices.com.
Looking to get some keys made, locks rekeyed, or a wide variety of new and used safe? Then look no further than the trusted choice of Alfred Safe and Lock. Conveniently located off of Government Street in Mid-City, Baton Rouge. Trust the expert locksmith at Alfred for all of your residential, commercial, and industrial lock and safe needs. Trusted by Baton Rouge and me, Roger Cador, to protect what is yours since 1946. Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
Caught spiders? Premier Pest Services.
Welcome back to the final segment of today's edition of the Roger Cador Show. Got to take a minute, Jonathan. And Jonathan Poche, by the way, your favorite, well, I'm not going to say favorite co-host, but your Tigers Roar co-host.
That's right. Don't throw shade at the bud, man.
All right, buddy. You're getting spicy.
Yeah.
Getting spicy. Got to take a minute and acknowledge something that despite the winning and losing, the bowl games, the NIL, the money, this, that, and the other, this to me illustrates the very heart of all we talk about and what it's supposed to be about. Southern University last week, graduating, bestowing a college degree upon 34 athletes on campus. 10 from the football team, 9 from the baseball team, 4 track and field, 2 each for men and women's basketball, 1 for volleyball, 1 for tennis, 1 for softball, and 3 cheerleaders. 34 young people completing their academic eligibility and walking away with a college degree.
That's awesome. I mean, it really speaks volumes to Roman Banks and that entire department where they really push these kids into hitting the books. And you're a student athlete. Student comes first. And if you don't make the grades, it's tough to get the PT. CB.
Yeah. Now, we're old school. You're a young old school.
Right.
We understand that there is a distinct order to this thing. It's student first, athlete second.
Yep.
Give me a heartfelt guess. What percentage of young people that leave high school, transition to college, are of the opinion that they are athletes first and students second?
65, 70% of kids are thinking they're going to go on to bigger and better, and get paid for playing the sport. And I believe you have to have the mentality that where you're good enough to play at the next level just to compete in college. But I mean, as we know, that's not the case.
No,
but
the numbers don't bear that out in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Now,
how much of that falls squarely in the lap of we fans?
I think it falls really, and this is going to sound harsh, but on the parents of these athletes. And you have to ground these kids, and their coaches want to tell them how great they are and how great they're going to make this team and do things for the university, and their teammates are all telling them how great they are and how awesome their last game was, and the fans, obviously they play a part into it too because it's a love fest. I mean, they call them fanatics for a reason, but it starts at home. But CB. You got to instill in these kids that, look, you have to be very good and also very lucky to make it to the next level. And one day this career will end. It might be when you're 23. It might be when you're 40. Obviously, the 40 is tougher to get to. But one day it's going to end. You have to have a plan for after you're done playing. And it starts with education, without a doubt.
I distinctly remember during my days at Southern when I marched in the band there, I was in college. And my parents let me know, we're proud of you for making the band.
Yep.
But if your grades slip, ain't gonna be no more of that band stuff.
Yep.
They let me know in no uncertain terms, your job first and foremost is education. Everything else pales in comparison.
And sadly, that's not the sentiment that these parents teaching these kids these days, and it's tough when they had a different upbringing. And look, not to get off on a tangent, but before we run out of time, 2022 CB, and this will be the last show for 2021. So when we come back, the calendar year for 2022. What an outstanding outlook, optimism you should have for the LSU program.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about the coaches, just hired Brian Kelly. Then you got Jay Johnson for baseball. I assume Jay Johnson and that baseball team is going to compete to go to Omaha this season.
Oh, yeah.
Will Wade, undefeated Tigers, ranked number 16 in top 25, both in the AP and the coaches. And then Coach Kim Mulkey, sitting at 19, 12-1, just took care of Sanford.
Demolished them.
What defense these two teams play, and defense travels, CB, and a lot of teams, they go on cold streaks, especially in college basketball, where it's all about the run. Right? If you can go on a 12-0, 10-0, 9-0 run, that's how you win games. But what an outstanding spot LSU fans are sitting in right now, looking towards 2022. Just wanted to put that out there before we close out.
And speaking of that outlook, Miles Brennan announcing transfer portal. I think I'm going to remove myself from that and come back and play for LSU. Did that catch you off guard?
Early signing day was a couple weeks ago. They had this new thing where they do, well, it's not new, it's a couple years old now, where you can early sign in December the 15th, or you can wait till February. 13 signees for LSU, some of the best players in Louisiana, but definitely highlighted by Miles Brennan. saying he got a phone call from Coach Brian Kelly, and they're going to, base their offense around what he can do and what he can bring to the table. Miles Brennan said the phone call was outstanding. He knew after he wanted to think about it, obviously, Coach Brian Kelly told him to do so, but a couple hours after that phone call, he knew he wanted to come back to the Tigers. I don't think he ever really wanted to leave, but the kid had so much bad luck with injuries, and then he waited his turn, and thought it was going to be his turn. Then the team brings in Joe Burrow. We know what Joe Burrow did the year after that. He plays 4 games, does outstanding, but then has a rib injury. They come back to 2021. He breaks his arm before the season. So a string of bad luck with injuries, but happy for Miles Brennan. Glad he's staying in Baton Rouge. He brings so much leadership to that quarterback room. Certainly something the Tigers needed.
Obviously, Brian Kelly has already gotten the lay of the land. You look at the early signing period, 4 outstanding young linemen coming into the fold. This guy's hit the ground running.
And that's really where it starts, CB. I mean, the foundation is in the trenches. LSU only signed 2 offensive linemen last season. Unfortunately, because of injury, both had to play this season. To start up front, you get Will Campbell out of Neville, a 5-star. You get Emory Jones, a guy from a Baton Rouge Catholic High. These guys have immediate opportunity to start. And look, I talked to Buddy Sandri a lot about Will Campbell, and he believes this is like the next Alan Faneca, Andrew Whitworth, like the next pro-level caliber of left tackle for LSU. Also signed the guy out of FIU in that signing period, and that was a huge get. I mean, a lot of teams around the country wanted to get that young man, and he chose LSU. And Coach Brian Kelly, in his introductory press conference, he talked about, look, he's always been able to recruit linemen, but what he looks for is really a demeanor, a fit at the spot. It goes into personality, build, strength, footwork, the whole deal, but it's a demeanor that he understands that makes him successful.
And he's bringing in young people that come from a culture of success.
That's right. Excuse me. And we're still waiting to hear who's the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator for LSU. In my opinion, the only reason they haven't been named so far is either the teams that they are currently employed with, or either in the college football poll or in the pros. College football playoffs will be over mid-January, and then the pro season obviously has a couple weeks left before they get to the playoffs. So hopefully they'll get some news rolling in about who this offensive defensive coordinator will be before that next signing day in February.
All right, quickly let the folks know when they can check out you and the Bud Man, Buddy Sanji, on Tigers Roar.
That's right, Tigers Roar Wednesday here on the Pelican, 8 o'clock. Also some replays over the weekend, but you also check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting. While you're there, go ahead and hit subscribe so you know every time we post something new. Everything we do here at the Pelican is archived for your viewing leisure at YouTube. So go check us out, youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting.
And as always, Happy New Year to you, and thank you for stepping in and filling in for His Majesty Roger Cador. We appreciate you sincerely. That is going to wrap us up here. We look forward to seeing you next year as we start 2022. And my gut tells me, and I've learned to trust my gut after all these years, it's going to be an exciting one nonetheless. On behalf of the entire crew, that, of course, would be Katie, Alan, floor producer Marty, Jonathan, and the coach. I'm Clarence Buggs. We'll see you next time. Go Jags.
Got it in for you, Coach.